At times, we all feel lost and in search of something more. This is Cristina Dam, and this is Liberate the Podcast, a podcast designed to help inspire and guide you forward through everything spirituality, creativity, art, and just giving you a sense of empowerment so that you can be powerful, be magical, and be free. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Liberate the Podcast. Dun, dun, dun. Today, we're welcoming one of our facilitators, Diana Osberg, with us, and she really does kind of everything. I mean, she does sound baths with us, and she does sound healing. She's also a wellness coach. She does yin and restorative yoga. There's kind of everything, mind, body, sound, you kind of fuse together. And, we're really going to be talking today about tapping into your energy life force, right? Yeah. So welcome.
Yeah, thank you. It's a big topic.
It is a big topic. But I think all of your training and modalities that you do span a pretty far reach of, from body, from vibrational sound, from wellness, and putting that all together. But the baseline is that energy force, right?
It is, and that is indeed the baseline. And the thing is that you can tap into it through so many different types of modalities. So you really just have to find what works for you, and that can change too. It can shift, and I think sometimes people take it too seriously, and it's like, I've got to concentrate on this one thing, but really just have fun and explore. That's what I like my students to do. So something might not work for you, but something else might be very powerful for you.
Yeah, and at different times, right? In different ways, times. There's always... and I'm sure as you've went through your journey studying, you've gotten to a certain point with different things, and then there's a level of curiosity, or maybe you're feeling that there's something that you need to figure out and answer a solution to, right? And then it dove you down a different modality and a different understanding,
there
right?
There are lots of rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And they're very attractive. Well, and you have to go with your intuition, and that's essentially what I've done. I started with yoga.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask. Where did you start?
Exploring different forms, and there were some physical reasons I wanted to do yoga, mainly I have a chronic shoulder and neck problem that developed out of, work situations where you get kind of stuck and your energy gets stuck here. And I didn't know that at the time. I know it now. So eventually I found a yoga class that I loved, but it wasn't labeled as yin yoga, but it turns out that's mainly what it was. And I couldn't believe how powerful it was for freeing up areas in my body that I didn't realize had frozen. Yeah. And then one thing led to another, and I started delving a little deeper into yin yoga. When I first started studying, it was mainly just a physical practice. And then I became interested in learning about the energy meridians, and realized this is all based in traditional Chinese medicine, that these meridians that run through our whole body are energy channels, and our energy gets stuck in these channels for various reasons. A lot of times it's due to trauma. It can be physical trauma, and it can manifest as lines of tension in your muscles, or muscle spasms, or it can be emotional blockages, because emotions are actually energy, which took me forever to find that out. And it's a good thing to know that your emotions are energy. Your emotions are not you. You are not your anger, but you may be angry. You are not your sadness and grief, but you can feel the sadness and grief. And what happens is when we experience emotions that are perceived to be negative, such as anger, grief, fear, we tend to hold on to them and we don't allow them to process through. Particularly in our culture, we tend to be embarrassed by emotions, and we like to keep them in. But when you keep them in, they get stuck in our body because they are energy. They get stuck in various places, and we either don't realize they're there, or we don't know how to release them. So a lot of the modalities that I work with, all of the modalities I work with, are to help to free up those blockages, whether they're physical, emotional, spiritual blockages. And the title of our episode today, Tap Into Your Life Force Energy, is kind of a play on words, because one of the rabbit holes I ended up going down into was to follow that thread of traditional Chinese medicine deeper, and also explored and have studied for a while now Qigong, which is related to
Qigong and Breathwork. You do, and I mean, we put all the modalities down below.
These are all related to traditional Chinese medicine and those energy meridians. The energy meridians are very much tied to our internal organs, which in turn are tied to specific emotions. So let's say, for instance, we're dealing with the lungs.
Okay.
The lungs are the first defense against disease. They are also related in the lung meridian, related to the emotions of sadness and grief. And, we've all experienced that. And I think particularly in this last year and a half or more with the pandemic, we've experienced a great deal of loss, a lot of sadness and grief around all of that. And so there are ways, physical ways that I teach people in the tapping and acupressure massage to help you release those perceived negative emotions and learn how, like with the meditations I do, and see, it's all related, and so it's hard to separate it out and not talk about others. But with meditations and with the breath work, learning how to breathe through these things and allow them to process through, and not to judge them as whether they're good or bad, positive or negative. They just are. They're just there, and allow them to process through.
So a lot of what you do then, if I simplify it a little bit, and correct me if you need to, but it's really allowing people to flow better, right, on an energetic level. And when you say life force energy, from your perspective, what would be the definition of that? Because we're talking about a lot of different forms of energy, emotions as energy, these different meridian points and channels and your organs, but what is that life force energy?
Yeah, it's all pretty much the same thing. Yeah, it's really what keeps us alive. If we didn't have the life force energy, we wouldn't be living in these bodies as human souls, having an experience on, a physical experience on Earth. The soul, we often see it. We often see ourselves as bodies with souls, but we're actually souls with bodies. Yeah. And we don't know how to drive these vehicles sometimes. We come in and we learn certain ways and we forget what is the natural connection to all that's around us, and we start separating ourselves from nature, from Mother Earth, from the universe, when we're actually all connected, we're all interconnected, and we're all interdependent on each other, whether we're connected to humans and other animals or plants or Mother Earth herself, who is a living, breathing organism who supports us in spite of us not treating her very well most of the time. But it's that life force energy, and in terms of traditional Chinese medicine and Qigong, that primordial Qi, that when we start to develop as humans in the womb, it's our navels that develop first. And 2 inches below our navel is what's called the lower dantian in Chinese medicine and Qigong. And this is where our primordial qi began. Our qi, spelled in this case QI, sometimes see it spelled as CHI, is the Chinese version of prana, which is the Indian version that you may hear when you're taking yoga classes. You'll hear prana. So I use, the words are interchangeable, and that's your life force energy. So the primordial qi is that life force energy you were born with. And then coming back to the lungs, what do you do with the lungs? You breathe in the air, and that is the life force energy that you're pulling in from all around you, as pulling it in from the universe, pulling it in from the earth. I mean, there's so much you can do, and it's so much fun, so don't worry about the details.
Don't get caught up in the details.
Don't get caught up in the details. So you allow your intuition to come through, and your intuition will become stronger the more you practice the different modalities and explore and find out what works best for you.
So what would be some of the benefits for somebody to, I guess what we can say is to activate or allow that life force energy to flow freely? What are some of the benefits from doing these different modalities, techniques, and, to help clear?
Well, I guess the broad strokes would be that you would find balance and come into well-being.
Okay. And what are some of the smaller ones?
Yeah, and then we'll break that. We'll drill down. Stress is a big one. We're always in a fight or flight mode all the time, and in that sympathetic nervous system is always activated. We always think there's a tiger out there chasing us when we're sitting in traffic on the 405 or at work, and rush, and we've got to do this and we've got to do that. And I quite often say we're human beings, not human doings, so it takes some time to be. And that's the opposite side of it, the parasympathetic nervous system. So the modalities that I work with, and all of the modalities that you have at Liberate, whether it's massage or meditation or psychic readings, any of that helps you connect deeper with yourself and therefore connecting with all that exists. Helps you to settle down that fight or flight mode that's pumping adrenaline and cortisol into your system that's not good for you, and helps you to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest. So that's a long way of saying let go of stress.
Okay, so we got one benefit is to release stress, right?
And then boost your immune system. This is a biggie for right now. And I do a couple times a month, I'm teaching some body tapping and acupressure massage classes here, and that's one of the big things that I work with is the immune system. So learning different techniques where you can strengthen your immune system, strengthen your whole respiratory system. As I said, the lungs are the first defense against pathogens. Your last defense are your large intestines, and interestingly, in traditional Chinese medicine, the large intestines are paired with the lungs. So in traditional Chinese medicine, the internal organs are paired with each other, the lungs being the yin or the feminine, darker side, like the moon is a yin, is the darker side, to the sun. Everything's in balance, the sun being the yang side. So your large intestines are the yang, and they're the last line of defense in your immune system. And then things like PTSD, stress. We mentioned stress, depression. I have a really good thing here called the 3 mile point.
Okay.
And I should probably explain acupressure massage just very briefly before I demonstrate a couple of things.
That would be good.
Yeah.
But back on like some of the benefits too, you know, like, and then we'll get into some of these, you know, one of the reasons that you even got into some of the modalities and going into yoga was you had some physical pain, right?
Physical pain, and then, of course, you know, we all have things from our childhood that begin to resurface as we get older, and they manifest in ways that are not helpful oftentimes, and those things were popping up, anger issues, and so learning how to release these things, and you know, you can take a lot of time and work with a therapist and talk, and that's very helpful. But one of the things that's not helpful are our monkey minds. And if you've studied meditation at all, you've probably heard about the monkey mind. And it's always chattering away at you. So these modalities help to settle down that monkey mind, that mind chatter that's just incessant and says bad things about us, and you know, and it makes us worry, and helps us to come into the present moment, which is when life takes place. Life is not yesterday or tomorrow, it's right now at this very moment. Yeah. And we're always trying to cling to what was or worry about what's to come. But these modalities, again, help us to live in the now. And it helps us to develop a sense of non-judgmental awareness. And that's a Buddhist concept. But you don't have to be Buddhist or believe in Buddhism or have any particular type of religion to understand how powerful this concept is, and to it takes a little bit of discipline to remind yourself not to react when something happens, because most of what happens to us in life we have absolutely no control over at all. And so when you can control something, you take care of it. But knowing that you can't control something other than maybe your reaction to it, when things start to come in, and you know, you learn this through, I learned it mainly through yin yoga. Because yin yoga is essentially long-held floor poses. You're sitting in a pose that may be quite uncomfortable for 3 to 5 minutes, which seems like an eternity. And you have to learn how to rest in that discomfort. But when you know that that discomfort is okay, it's not hurting you. If it's pain, that's something else. And then you can do something about it by shifting your position. But if it's discomfort, you train yourself to come into the present moment and rest in stillness within that discomfort. So that can apply outside of the yoga mat and in any life situation, knowing that I can't do anything about this at this moment, and just being aware of how you're feeling. I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling fearful, I'm feeling joyful. Whatever it may be, just recognizing that in a non-judgmental way as to whether it's good or bad, and allowing it to flow through you. And in doing that, it keeps it from attaching to you.
Or getting stuck.
Getting stuck, same thing. And so, because when these things get stuck, and now we kind of bring in the sound healing part of it, our body starts to get into a state of disharmony. It's kind of like an orchestra that gets out of tune. And so these different modalities, and when I do the sound healing, I call it a tune-up. You're kind of bringing all of these elements into balance and harmony with each other. And we're coming back into, everything's about vibration.
Yeah.
We are energy. We are not the solid mass. When I'm going to give away my age here, but when I was in grammar school, I learned that matter was solid. Well, it's not, it turns out. And it's vibrating and it's moving all the time. And
that's so wonderful about how, like, you know, I think a lot of the people tend to label spiritual or esoteric type of things as having this hooey-wooiness to it, right? But as science continues to develop and progress, it's actually, they align with each other, and there's a lot of evidence that supports it. And it's really important to say that it isn't, you know, even if some of these traditions came from Eastern schools of thought or traditional Chinese medicine or wherever India and yoga and where things originated, it doesn't mean that that's tied into any type of belief system. These are techniques. These follow the element of physics.
Yeah.
And
it's all based in science.
Yeah. But it wasn't known that it was based in science when these were developed. So they seem like this is Eastern stuff, or this is this stuff, or this is that. But take away any of the religion, take away any of even the spirituality from it. Just take away from these are techniques to help heal, release, move forward, empower, energize, all of that.
And the beauty of it is that you're learning how to heal yourself. I'm not doing anything. I'm just showing you.
Well, I mean, they're showing you the tools. If you're playing the sound bowls, or you're doing something.
Well, yeah, I'll take that back. It's about intention, particularly when it comes to the sound healing. But you know, you're learning how to balance your energy, and you're tuning up because your tissues vibrate at different frequencies naturally, but through trauma it changes the frequency, and that's where we can start to have problems, some health issues when those vibrations are off. So you start to tune yourself up like an orchestra, so all of the parts are working together in harmony.
Yeah.
But you know what's interesting about the science aspect? I am so excited to see things changing suddenly. Stanford University has a program studying sound healing. Sound healing is over 5,000 years old, and we're talking about balance. We're starting to see a balance now between the Eastern medicine and the Western medicine. It's starting to come together. I'm seeing
even older than
Reiki.
5,000 years old, because there was the vibration of mantras and sacred sounds of vibration from dialect that was used as healing, and then the instrument healing ended up coming in.
And what's interesting too is that somehow they've determined that the first thing that existed when Earth exploded, or the universe exploded into existence, was sound. That's the first thing that existed, and the sound that they've identified was Om.
You enjoying this so far? Did you forget to subscribe? Make sure to do so. Takes 2 seconds. Just press that little button, the red one. You know the one. Just press it, little like. All right, enjoy the rest of this content. Which some people might identify as this, maybe, Eastern mantra but it's a sound, it's a vibration. It's when you allow yourself to just be open, there's things to take away from everything.
And I was going to say too that recently I've seen a couple of examples where Reiki is being used in the surgical situation in the OR. Where somebody will come in and do Reiki on the patient while the doctors are doing the surgery, which I think is so exciting.
Those are, to get the results, is taking all the tools.
Yeah. And so it's really about coming into balance, allowing uncomfortable energies to flow through you. So releasing anger, releasing fear, worry, sadness and grief, releasing control. That's a hard thing to do, and some people say surrendering to it, but people don't like that word, surrender.
Yeah.
But it is a kind of surrendering, and as soon as you start, I've always been a big control freak, so it took a long time for me to release, and I'm still working on that, but I've gotten a lot better. And as soon as I, through non-judgmental awareness, start feeling like I'm trying to control a situation, and I release it, and things start flowing, go with the flow, and suddenly good things start coming to me. And that's another part of it, is that you may have dreams, which are great, and things that you want to do, and something that you're aspiring to, but when we start to control those things, we limit them. And when you just put that intention out there, release that intention to the universe, and then allow things to start coming in, and they may not be what you expected, but they may be a whole lot better. Oftentimes they are.
Yeah, because from our limited perspective, we can only have a limited idea of what's something that's good for us or that we want, right? But as we shift that. But I want to share with people a little bit about how does this trauma or other types of energy blockages and things manifest in your life. They could be all the obstacles that you're facing, from a lack of receiving fulfillment or a great relationship to not living your potential or your truth, or having beautiful friendships, or health, or all of these other areas of your life. But there's these energies or these stuck emotions or these stuck blockages are really what can be behind why you don't live the life that you truly want.
Yeah, and I see this over and over again, and I know intuitively that there's a lot of truth in it. Is that the universe keeps sending us the same situations. You keep getting hooked up with the same people with the same problems over and over and over. You know what I'm going to say, until you've learned your lesson. And you start, for me, I started realizing, wait a minute, why did this happen again? Why did that happen again? And I realized the common denominator was me.
Yeah, we want to blame. And somebody told me a long time ago, when you point one finger at somebody, there's three pointing right back at you, so
circular firing squad.
So it's I say those three are bigger than that one that you're pointing,
So being self-aware, and when you practice these modalities, I was going to mention too, there's a lot of power in taking classes, whether you're doing it on Zoom live with an instructor, or you come here and study with us in person. But there's another tool that if you don't really know what you want, what really works for you, and maybe you're not quite ready to come to a class yet, YouTube. There are amazing videos on YouTube, and
like this one.
Yes, exactly. You can learn so much, and then you can practice these things at home and figure out what feels best for me, and then you can take a class, because there's nothing like taking a class, particularly when it's in person with other people, because speaking of energy, you're sharing the energies of the people in the room with you too.
Yeah.
So it really it makes it a lot more fun, and I think more instructive too when you have other people to interact with.
I love that. Yeah. And speaking of learning, I think that before I stopped you from demonstrating a few techniques.
I love demoing.
So if you don't mind, giving somebody maybe a little tool or something that they can take home.
Let's do two or three if we have time.
Yeah, that's fine.
The one I like to start with is called the thymus thump. And this is something you can do every day. Just make a loose fist.
Okay.
And just place it on the center of your sternum. And just begin to tap, thump the thymus. The thymus gland is right behind the sternum, and it is the governor of your immune system.
Does it matter if it's left or right hand?
No.
Because I just followed you.
Yeah. If you get tired, you can switch hands. But
I didn't know if it was like directed more on the left side or the right side of you.
Some of the practices. And the thymus gland tends to be sluggish for most people, so this really helps to energize it, strengthen it.
How long do you do it for?
You could do it for a minute or two.
Okay.
If you only have 30 seconds, that's fine too. Just
okay, but the ideal is like at least a minute?
Yeah, then that's good. And then you can try to do it every day whenever you think about it. And then we have all sorts of immune points all through here. And I should say acupressure massage is essentially acupuncture without the needles. Mm-hmm. So you can do acupuncture on yourself without the needles. And we're just targeting certain points along the energy meridians, energy channels. And this, in these acupressure points is where this energy tends to get stuck. Okay. And these points are like little whirlpools of energy, like little vortexes. So I'm going to bring you to 2 points here, right in front of the shoulder and underneath the collarbone. Okay. This is the beginning of the lung meridian, and most of these meridians are bilateral, so we have them on both sides. And this is lung 1 and lung 2, and we're just going to tap here. And you can either tap with a loose fist, you can make a little chicken beak, tap here, or you can use the flat of your hand. Yeah.
Chicken beak.
And this is important, is to listen to your body. Your body is really smart, and it will tell you what you need. So we just tap here on the lung meridian. And the lungs are related to sadness and griefs. This helps you release any blockages around sadness and grief and allow that to flow out of you. Also on the physical plane, it helps to energize the lungs, to expel any fluid, any phlegm in your lungs. It also helps to stimulate the carotid artery that brings oxygen to your brain, so it can help to blow away brain fog. And it should feel really good.
No more brain fog.
And then so we're not out of balance, let's do it on the other side. Okay. And as you do this, you can just bring a little non-judgmental awareness to your breathing, to your lungs and your whole respiratory system. And just see if your breathing changes as you're doing this. I love doing this. It just feels so good. There's so many things you can do, but let me show you one for depression. Okay. This also has a lot of other applications, but it's really nice for depression. This is on the stomach meridian. So you take your 4 fingers down from the kneecaps and find the top of your shins. I like to use my thumbs, but you can use any fingers that work, and just slide off to the outside a little bit. And just begin to stimulate that with your thumbs, or I like to knock it. And this is stomach 36, otherwise known as the 3 mile point. Okay. And this is really great for stamina. And for depression, yeah, really great for depression. Good for, digestion, settling an upset stomach. Coming back to the stamina part, it's called 3 mile point because the story goes that the Chinese army would march for 3 miles and they'd stop and do this.
Oh, really?
And then, a couple of minutes. And then they would march for 3 more miles, and then they'd stop and do this again.
I like that.
So it's referred to, I call it body tapping. This is a little friendlier term. You can call it meridian tapping. This is on the stomach meridian. You can call it Qigong tapping because this is a common practice in Qigong.
I already feel better. I mean, seriously, though.
No, well, and that's one of the wonderful things about it is that after you've done a little tapping, you can just stop and just turn inside briefly. You can, you can either close your eyes or you can soften your gaze and just notice the energy that's pulsing through It's really amazing, and it's so powerful.
And it's nice how it's like, we're in the middle of a conversation, lots going on, but literally tapping, just, it almost takes out the noise in the room.
That's one of the interesting things. When I first started doing this, it's not something that occurred to me, but as I began to teach classes, and I teach not to be a teacher. I teach because I am so passionate about these practices that I'm absolutely compelled to teach, because I'm actually kind of shy. And when I first started teaching, I was really nervous about teaching. But I have to teach these things because they're just so powerful. But anyway, this is one of the things that I learned as I was teaching, is that, it's bringing everyone into the present moment because they're all focused on what they're doing right now.
Yeah.
And everything else goes away. And it really does, no matter where you're working, it brings your whole body into balance. It also changes everything on the cellular level. It alters, actually, to kind of tap into the breathwork part. Coming up in early December, I'm going to be teaching a Sudarshan Kriya class.
Okay. That's a form of breath work. And what's that breath work practice?
It's pretty rigorous. It is a combination of cycles of breathing. Some of it is very calming and grounding, and some of it's very stimulating and cleansing. It's purifying. A lot of it's purification, which can be quite rigorous. And it's a great practice because what I learned when I studied it is that our cells turn over every 40 days. If you practice Sudarshan Kriya every day for 40 days, you'll be a totally new person. And but it's like any of these other modalities, is that it helps to free stuck energy. What you're doing is, when you breathe in, you're breathing in fresh life force energy, and when you breathe out, you're expelling old stagnant energy and any sort of emotions, which are energy, anything that no longer serves your greatest good. And it's a way of, when you're releasing, you're letting go of control. It all comes back. It's all a big web that's all connected.
But I like it, and I like how everything that you teach, it's about helping people just go with the flow and allow things to move. Yeah. Whether it's through vibration, whether it's in sound, whether it's through tapping, whether it's through movements and postures, whether it's through, all of it, right?
And ultimately, what it does is it brings you inner peace.
Yeah.
And my saying is that in order to have world peace, each one of us needs to find inner peace. So that's my ultimate goal.
Yes, it's a big one, but
it is a big one, but it's worth going after.
Absolutely. Yeah. So Diana, where can people find you? I mean, of course, through here at Liberate Yourself, lots of different classes, both by yourself and with some collaborative facilitators. And then what about your other handles or information?
Yeah. Well, my website is Inner Story Retreats, and it's innerstoryretreats.com. And you can find me on Facebook at Inner Story Retreats and on Instagram at Inner Story Retreats.
Okay, so Inner Story Retreats is the place, and also we'll put all those links down here too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for today. And if you like this, please like, share, comment. It takes a second of your time, but it makes a huge difference in helping this video or this podcast become more visible and out there towards everybody else. There's a thing called algorithms, and they're real, and we need your support so other people can benefit. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day. Till next time. Thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed this conversation, please like it, subscribe, and share it with your friends. If you want to hear more about what we have going on and happening online or in the neighborhood, check out liberateyourself.com and sign up for our mailing list. Also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Liberate Yourself. It's YouRself, URSELF. Until next time, be powerful, be magical, and be free.